Greetings and welcome to our next roundtable here at GatherVerse XREvolve 2025. It's now time to be able to scale into the narrative of education. We're so happy to have all of our roundtable panelists with us today, these professionals that have come to gather with us from around the world. Audience, we see all of you that are still with us at GatherVerse.live. Apparently, we're not the only one interested at the intersection of humanity and emerging technologies. We're so happy to see all of you still, even at our social platforms, which we're broadcasting quite literally on several streams that are happening concurrently right now. To all of you that are familiar with GatherVerse, welcome back. To all of you that are with us for the very first time, we greet you. We've assembled this particular discussion at this intersection of education and AI and XR, meaning extended reality, with great intent and particular purpose. We want to be able to go beneath the surface and above the mountains, if you will, to enter into the cosmos and to be able to explore further into the outer regions of understanding of where we're at this particular moment, this particular day, when it comes to education itself. The reason that we find this particular discussion so enlightening and rather important and urgent to have is because we're about to arrive to a state of existence where machine species is coming to meet us where we're at, and we'll meet them where they're at. To what extent, we don't know. What we can say is that the AI that we're inherently dealing with today is nothing in comparison to what we're expecting tomorrow. In fact, in a lot of instances, when we talk about extended reality, we're about to deal with the interface that can read and express and that could be able to share and to be able to look at our disposition, and it will one day turn around to believe that it itself has its own disposition. I think about the leaders that are here with us today that deal and cover a number of different topics, but I'll let them to be able to briefly express to us who they are and what inspired them to be here. But moreover, audience, this may be one of the most important roundtable discussions that are happening on the place of this earth. As dramatic as I know that I can carry the license, I actually mean it. So we'll begin right now with Dr. Messina Morris, who comes to us from the ATL. Please.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Yoda Chris. How are you?
Good.
So I am Dr. Messina Morris. I am a Metaversity pioneer, an XR and AI strategist. I am an educator of the future and champion for equity and immersive learning. So they call me Dr. Mom, which stands for Molder of Minds, and that's exactly what I do. So I mold minds, I build futures, and I make sure that no one gets left behind in the evolution of education. I'm a mother of 5 sons, a wife to a gamer. He's all gamed out, super techie. And my 2,500 Morehouse College sons in Atlanta, Georgia. So I am happy to be here, and I am inspired to be here because I feel like this is where we're going to get the most adoption of AI and XR is going to be through education. And our children are already there. And so they're looking to us for guidance, though, because they don't have the forethought that we do. They don't have the understanding of how this technology evolves and can evolve. And so it's our responsibility to make sure that we get it into the classroom in the appropriate way. And so I'm training 1,000 educators across the globe on how to use XR and AI in the classroom. And I am the founder of my own company, Metaverse United.
Dr. Morris, we're certainly happy to have you. Your work is outstanding. And I've been with the real pleasure of visiting you in real time to see you demonstrate this work, which is excellent. We look forward to exploring this further. Caroline.
How you doing, Chris? Hi, everybody. So excited to be here on this panel. My name is Caroline. I run a group called the 228 Accelerator. And then we're called the 228 Accelerator because it will take the average Black family in America 228 years to achieve wealth parity with white families. And we argue that's not because one group is better with money than the other. It is because we have broken relationships in our country. So my work and my vocation is to help people redesign relationships to build more trust and also to make us more human. And we've been playing around with AR, XR, and AI technologies for the past couple of years, especially with adult learners. I firmly believe I'm an educator by training, an engineer by training. Also, the kids are fine. It is how do we get the adults to be more human, more loving, and more open? And how can we use this technology to kind of leapfrog many of the ways that we've been doing teacher professional development? So super excited to be here in this space and be a part of this conversation.
It's rather fascinating, Caroline, to make the expression that the kids are fine. We're going to lean in on that. We're going to touch on that as we should. We say things here at GatherVerse, we hold people to it. We're going to reach the stratosphere with that. That was a lot to say, but nevertheless, we certainly do welcome you. Rui.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rui Pereira. I'm a creative technologist for 20 years plus, with the last 10 years focused on augmented and mixed reality, both many companies and many roles, from research to innovation and marketing campaigns. In the last 5 years, I've been running my own studio called Humanus. We're a very small, specialized studio in XR and AI and creative technology processes. And I'm also an educator. I've been teaching immersive technology and especially augmented and mixed reality at NYU ITP since 2016, with the main objective not only of exposing students to the technology, but more so to develop a critical thinking that's much needed in developing XR. I'm really, really happy to be here, and I'm, really excited that I already have a lot of counterpoints. I'm really excited about XR in the role in education. I think it has an enormous, gigantic potential because it's not only, connecting this learning content with our context, both our environment and our egocentric data, the data we generate from our lives.
Sure.
It also has a strong potential of making things tangible, right? Breaking abstract things and making them tangible from a complex formula you can visualize, etc. But I think AI has also, an enormous role. But both of them can bring very, I think, immediate benefits. And one of them is
Rui, before we go further,
yeah, all right.
On that.
All right.
Before you jump on this soapbox, we have a little bit more to be able to cover, but we'll allow you to get back on that sooner rather than later.
All right.
Edinka.
Hey guys. Hi, my name is Adeyinka. Ade, you can call me. I've been in technology for the past 15 years. Started within the e-commerce space. And now I more recently work with a partnership team within our organization, Kaleidoscope. Kaleidoscope is focused on providing virtual reality solutions for caregiving within the healthcare sector. So what we focus on is providing empathy training for caregivers. As we know, a lot of us are living longer and having a longer life expectancy. So it's critical for us to also make sure that the life expectancy is lived with quality life. And that's what we're trying to do via providing top tier caregiving experiences, leveraging AI and virtual reality to do that. I'm very happy to talk to you all today. And my excitement is that this topic has been on my mind for a while, and being able to share this stage with the rest of the panelists is really cool. And I look forward to what we can achieve together. And thanks, Christopher, for this amazing event so far.
Eddie, we're very happy to have you here, and thank you for your sentiments that are expressed. We're so happy to have each of you that have actually come to arrive to give a little bit of time of a thing that you'll never get back again, and that you lend it. We never take that lightly. For anybody at GatherVerse gives us time, even including you, audience, for all of us that are with us at GatherVerse.live and elsewhere on our different various streaming and social platforms. We just don't take that for granted, and we never will. Shall we begin? I think about this world of education. I think about the industries that are highly prevalent at this intersection of AI and XR. We could take a look at health tech and science and logistics and manufacturing, if you will. And there's more verticals at defense, entertainment, sports, so forth and so on. But I look at education as a catch-all, Dr. Morris, when we think about on the adult level or the youth level, the dichotomy in between, from corporation to public to private sector, technologists, non-technologists, policy legislators, what have you, it seems to me that each of us, even myself, as an emerging technologist, is in need of a heightened, accelerated sense of education, one. Two, that if we don't, as it's been established at this summit already, if we as humans do not do the training and the education, then something else will, a reference to machines. But moreover, being that this accelerated, innovative scale in this global AI arms race is happening at a rapid pace, and knowing that XR will appear to manifest itself more human than pixelation, and the majority of the world hasn't even adopted to GPT 3.5 or any other model at that example, how do we bring people up to scale on a very fast-moving train that in many ways, when we say that technology is becoming more advanced than the technologist, how do we lessen this gap?
I think that the most important thing that education is absolutely missing right now is that we have to train our young people on how to navigate information, how to have a healthy skepticism for what we see, and how to discern real from fake. And I think that's going to take for us who have more human experiences to actually lead the charge. And so I tell my education friends and people in the field, don't shy away or shirk yourself away from the technology. A lot of people say, oh, I don't want to be on social media, or that's not my thing. I don't want to use AI, or, I think it's going to take jobs, or whatever the case may be. It is going to take your job. And it's also going to brainwash your child. And it's going to teach your child exactly what a machine wants your child to know, and not what you, as a human being who has real lived experiences, needs them to know. So I tell all educators that there's a new teacher toolkit, and it's technological. Literally, it runs on prompts, it runs on platforms, and it also has to run on purpose. You have to make sure that you are infusing the knowledge and the wherewithal. So we talk about AI literacy and fluency in our young people, and we talk about how immersive learning is really good for helping engage the young people, but there have to be rules and guardrails for everything. And I'm not saying create the policies that are going to cause us to continue to fall behind. But what I am, as an educator, really tired of, and I'm the kind of person that's going to, I'll ask permission later. I'm not going to ask permission for doing what is right as a human being for the cause. And one of the things that education is doing is waiting for the world to decide and decipher and tell them what to do. And I think that's the wrong way around. If we are with young people who are the future of the world, 40 to 60 hours a week, you got to think about how many educators are with your children, molding them, instilling all kinds of behaviors, life norms, everything into them all day long. And you want to wait for them to actually develop some kind of ethical framework around this technology. That's backwards. They should be the ones, because they spend the most time around your young people. They should be the ones designing it and deciphering how and what they learn, because they actually know what causes harms. They know what really happens in those classrooms, and those behaviors that you see at home or you see in the world, they come from sitting in a classroom all day, disengaged, disenfranchised, bullying one another, picking on one another, so afraid to move, and just being told to sit down and shut up and take a worksheet, that our children are not actually learning anything. So it's not AI that's going to rob them of the learning. It is us as human beings that are not doing our job, because we don't want to step into something that is new and different than what we grew up with. But we
So
have—
Dr. Morris, on that note, are we suggesting that we take a backseat to AI?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we need to be the ones up under the hood, and we need to be the ones directing it. Like, For instance, I'm a global fellow for OpenAI. I'm the one that's at the table saying, hey, y'all are doing this wrong, or no, this is offensive, or hey, this is going to cause harm to our children. And we have to be unafraid to confront technological companies that are building, I don't care who they are, and I don't care how big they are, and say, hey, I'm here with our kids all the time, and this is going to cause harm. And honestly, you'll be surprised how many times they listen.
Dr. Morris, we're going to come back to that. I have a really powerful question for you on that. We're going to come back for that. We're going to chop a bit of wood on that because listen, everyone we're going to bring this home. There's a lot. We're about to be completely candid up in this roundtable today.
Oh yeah, let's go. You know me.
And Caroline, I have to get back to what you said in your introduction. You said that the kids are all right. I don't think so, but you say the kids are all right. So I'd like to hear what that means from you before we get, you knew we were coming back to that. If you didn't,
I knew you were coming back to it, and I'm glad you did. And the reason why I said that, Chris, was like you mentioned the cosmos, and the kids and children are closer to the divine than we are. I will say, like, kids know what's wrong. They are still flexible in their minds. Their sense of judgment is there. And I think that the way our world is designed makes them distorted by the time they become adults, right? So I'm like, so I was like, the essence of being a child, I think they're fine. I think we have a lot to learn from the babies. We have to teach the babies. But, you know, I think we also have to think about the world that we want. And I think when we're in these periods of incredible technological disruption, and I'm going to borrow a phrase that I picked up when I first met you, or I was introduced to your work, you're like, we're entering in the age of machines. Okay, that's a period of disruption. Like, how do we recalibrate as a society to say, all right, what world do we want? Do we have the knowledge needed to get to that world? And what new knowledge is required? I'm not convinced that we have the new knowledge. I think there are a lot of pieces that are being flown around, and folks are trying to say, okay, this old world, like, how do we fit this new technology into this old world? But what if what we're really being asked to do is, no, let's reimagine a new world. Let's reimagine a new world. And then how can this technology help us prototype rapidly this new world to get us closer? So Chris, to bring it home, when I say the kids are all right, I'm thinking about my niece and nephew who are 8 and 9. Their hearts are big and bold and brilliant and imaginative.
You know, I find that rather interesting, and I do believe now I'm on the same page with, we're twin, if you will, on that. And I think about some of the things that Dr. Morris said in concert to what you just expressed. It seems to me perhaps the kids are all right, because while all of us adults are vibe coding, chasing billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar unicorns, we care more about our pockets than the ones that are to inherit these things that we're innovating. But I do believe that at some point, audience, let's lean in on this. At some point, we'll be so disrupted.
Right.
We'll be so disrupted that whether we want it to or not, we will find more time on our hands to think about these things of what we've been innovating for in the first place, rather as opposed to only innovating for financial capital gain. I'm not saying go out there and don't monetize. I'm not saying don't go out there and generate revenue, create whole entire financial small economies that can turn into large, that can blossom. But at the end of the day, vibe coders, the vibe code will say to the vibe coder, I don't need you anymore. Mm-hmm. I got it from here. Rui, I have a real concern. I have a real concern about where this roundtable is going when we think about the older generations, 25 up, the more mature generations that are so stuck in their ways, they don't want to move forward. They're so set in their way, and they have all these challenges with, and they don't understand the magnitude of the coming wave that not is long to happen, but it's happening right now. Under the banner of education, Rui, for the sanctity of education, it seems to me that we have the smallest window afforded available to us, audience, before at some point we'll have to surrender to the machines. Rui, what do you think about this?
I'll get there. First, I want to completely disagree with the kids are all right. I think from I understand the point of view that they're purer, as beings, than we are, less distorted by society and what they've been facing. But what they are facing now is they're being bombarded by information at a level that has never been seen before. And they are digesting, multitasking, multi streams. Attention is going to shambles. So there's a lot of things that I don't think the kids are all right. Are the older generations all right? No, it's a big change coming. And I think, one thing that I think it's really important, and going back to the point made before, it's really, really important. And that's one of the reasons I teach, XR and with AI. We need to develop a critical thinking. We've been pushed for decades with this vision of innovation is force, innovation is good. It's like, no, innovation is not good if it doesn't work. Innovation can actually, be not innovation, right? We need to care. It needs to matter. It needs to resolve or to solve a problem. It's not just creating by creating. Now, the problem with AI in education for me, or not a problem, but one of the things that I think we need to address is developing not only critical thinking, but also a factual thinking, understanding what's truth and what's not. And for me, the big problem is that the interface that we access information, that we research information, is changing drastically. If we think from research, years before, we had people going to libraries, having to go to other places to access books. We have the internet, and now we can all do researches from our homes. We have access to all the information. We do it in a way that we get multiple sources, and it's up to us to build, to construct the reality from those multiple sources. Versus OpenAI, you ask a question and you get one answer. So you're not exposed to multiple sources. You're exposed to one single source that it actually sounds like a God's truth. So that for me is scary. What happens to research then, right? So that for me is one of the points where I really, think we need to break it down. And I think RAGs, the way that, we interface with RAGs is much nicer, right? You ask a question and it gives you an answer. It gives you, oh, by the way, I got this point from this part and that point from that part. And we create the references, right? So this.
But hold that thought, Roy. I know we're talking about
Yeah.
real-time augmented generation. We talk about RAGs. I may or may not come back to that. I want to give Caroline a moment to be able to reply to the kids are all right.
Yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying, Rui, and I think this is really complicated. I was listening deeply, and I was like, "Huh, are they all right?" And I think that my response is that they are working in a world that we created. They're working in a distorted world that we created. So I definitely I don't want to dismiss the fact that their life is being mediated by screens right now. I think that is distorting and changing their brains. But I was like, but the adults did that. They didn't do that. Adults did that. Right. So I want to hold the responsibility of the people with the power. Right. Like the babies are doing what we allow the babies to do. And because we're not always as responsible with the technologies as we need to be in preparing them and having a more imaginative, robust, expansive way to live and show up as humans, we projected that onto them. So I think we're in agreement. I think it's like where do we start solving the problem?
Rui, before we go further, Rui, do you have a few seconds on that?
No, I think we're completely agree. I mean, I just want to bring back the thing, our generation, it wasn't internet, it was TV, and it was the kids who put a towel, on their neck and jump out of the balcony, right? That was like the problem of the children in the 70s and 80s because of TV. We grew with that, and in the end, it's not the me. I mean, yeah, we can blame the media a lot, and it's true. And I agree, but in the end, who's responsible is the parents or the people who educate these children, being there, helping them understand reality, right? And we have a problem where society doesn't allow for that because parents are working 2 or 3 shifts, and they are less accompanied than ever, and always with this companion digital being. So that's where I think we're missing is parents, or society helping and being closer to these children and helping them, guide them early on.
Let's keep that. Let's keep that line. But 1 second, Dr. Morris. I have to ask Adi because we don't want to abandon him, and I promise we'll get back to you. But Adi, are the kids all right?
I mean, like, to answer that question, I think what we should say, what I would first start with is, if you want to tell the future of any society, look at how they invest in their children and the young people of today. Technology has always been in the business of disrupting how we live our lives. If you look at the automobile industry, I mean, like, vehicles were claimed to be very dangerous. Then after a while, we invented seat belts. And in the rooms that everyone is in today, there is more regulation in that room than there's a regulation on the screens of our mobile device. And that's a failure of the adults of today to say, we have drinking age, we have driving age. We introduced social media to these children at the age where their brains were beginning to form, and there were no guardrails. So of course, there's going to be a byproduct of that. Has social media and Web 2.0, now Web 3.0, now we're talking about the hype cycle of AI, are they going to transform the way we engage in our lives? Yes. Do we need guardrails? Absolutely.
When we talk about guardrails, I hear this used often. I know what they are. What are guardrails? How are we quantifying this word, these words that we use? I want us to be able to teach this audience as well. What are guardrails? What do those look like? And how are they propagated in this instance?
So I'll give a simple example. I just get, like, if you wanted to drive, there's a driving age. So there should be age limit for kids to have access to social media, for example. And I'll tell you, like, these tech organizations know how to do this. But unfortunately, if you look at incentives or the government, they are not, like, incentivized to do these changes. When they figured that there was a threat to their bottom line, and I'm talking from a sales perspective, so I understand the business side of this. When there was a threat to the baseline and the bottom line of this organization, they used the same technology to figure out how to know that an 80-year-old should not have an Instagram account, or a stranger shouldn't be able to have access to the DMs of a 13-year-old. These technologies can absolutely deliver on that. And that's one example of a guardrail. And I think that as society, we as adults, we need to put pressure on all the institutions that we trust on to ensure that we have these guardrails in place so that the future of our society, which is like the kids, are super protected. And that's why if that happens, I can then agree with Caroline that the kids are all right. Right now, I don't think we are doing them the level of service. We've just handed them the world, and we've not given them anything to navigate with.
I'm going to say this.
Fire hose, literally speaking.
Adi, thank you for saying that, and thank you for further defining from your lens these guardrails, Dr. Morris. I tend to think about, to be candid, audience, when I think about guardrails in this present time, I think that guardrails are a fallacy that's centered in the mark of illusion that's acquiesced into the presence of delusional grandeur, because the regulatory establishment, at least here in the United States, has lessened. The regulatory establishment in Europe has heightened. But we're at a global AI arms race where guardrails slow and can impede the process. I believe that trust is needed, but I think democratized trust. In fact, I think if we hold to the standard of guardrails, to OpenAI, to Anthropic, to Google's Gemini and DeepMind, to all these other platforms that are sitting at Hugging Face and Gaggle, and we say, hey, you and governments, public sector, you need to add guardrails and safety. First of all, the technology is moving at such a rapid clip that they don't even understand the magnitude of what it is that they're protecting and putting a fence around in the first place. They don't understand this technology. They don't know what it means. It's hyperscale, and the technologists are far behind. They're so far deep in the trenches that they don't even understand. Don't think that everybody works at Anthropic understands the AI that they're building. All they're really building are pots and pans and deploying it to us, the chefs, to see what dishes we'll make. As the kids go, the kids are all right in the sense that they will be the ones to inherit and to be able to get right this muck of a mess that we have made. However, The kids are not all right, because if we continue on the path that we're having and as its potential of destruction, the kids will not even be around to be able to make things right that we have made wrong. Dr. Morris.
So I'm a mother of 5 sons from ages 29 all the way to 8. And I just had a little granddaughter, so she's Generation Beta. And so when I think about the harms that she will have to go through, the things that I've seen my 8-year-old have to deal with, I often think about, how are we as parents, how are we as adults the ones that have actually, like you said, caused this catastrophe, right? We have made it where our kids have access to so much because we feel like that's the way that we're going to love them, because we had so little in some ways. But the little that we had was still love. The interactions, the human touch, the sitting down at the dinner table that we had, that whole thing has been a lost art. But the reason why I use AI or I use extended reality technologies, especially for teaching, is to give back that time. I feel like that we have cornered the time market when it comes to education on all of our children. We say that they need to go to school for 8 hours a day, then they need to participate in extracurricular activities, then they need to come home and train, then they need to come home and do homework. When are they going to have time to sit down with their families and get to know who they are? When are they going to have time to go on family vacations, because AAU season run all year? At what time are they going to be able to just be children and run outside and play? And we talk about that, but then the neighborhood is not safe. But so all the things that we are talking about are issues that we can solve because we created. And yes, when you talk about guardrails, when I say guardrails, I mean teaching young people how to use this technology to solve human problems well. So AI should be used to help you accelerate your understanding of how to stop global warming. Like I call it the human extinction project. It should be that they're more bold in their approaches to how they learn certain things, that they use it to understand how to do certain scientific processes, how to come up with new ideas, how to brainstorm, how to critically think, how to collaborate with one another, because they are going to be working on teams no matter what they do. You need a team of people now. And so how can you get AI to working for you and you be the mind that guides and design it? So that's what I mean by guardrails. I don't mean slow us down, because we're already slow. I mean, find a way to actually train the young people to use it appropriately to solve problems that we can't solve alone. And it takes so much time. And I know as a biomolecular chemist how many times and how many hours I have spent researching and looking up things, and how that is so much different now for me, because I could do a literature review and search, but I also know how to go back and fact check. I know how to go back and use databases. And so I'm saying, when I say develop a healthy skepticism for these technologies and how they're used, it's teaching them what their new workflow is, because their workflow is going on TikTok and then working backwards from there until the real.
I have to ask this. You're a very decorated professor.
Right.
Extensive experience.
Yeah.
I've seen this with my own eyes on your campus. Since we're on the subject of extended reality and AI and Roundtable, this is for all of you. We'll start with Dr. Morris. This is a pivot. We know, for those that have been dealing with immersive technologies, that the immersive set that we're dealing with now will pale in comparison to what we're soon to see at hyperreal human resolution standards, or hyper-realistic immersive simulations, or real-time augmented projection and intelligent holography. With that said, Dr. Morris, if it is produced by OpenAI, Anthropic, Claude, DeepMind, if there is a professor that you deem more capable than you at what you do, would you step aside and allow this machine to replace you?
I'm irreplaceable. So you know better. I'm irreplaceable. I work with the machine, but I probably would have designed the machine to be more human. to be more personable, to train my young people in a way that
what makes you more irreplaceable or capable than this incredible machine that they innovated right here in Silicon Valley with all the benchmarks you can ever want from a PhD study professor? What is it that we're seeing right now that you have that it does not?
my heart, my care. I have raised babies from my womb all the way and taken care of people to the tomb. Do you understand? And that experience is remarkable. It is something that you cannot replace. I understand what it means to live and to keep something alive. I know what it means to hold a baby while they're sick. I have a child with autism. Okay. So I know what it is to try to communicate without being able to speak. I know the goodness of God, and I've seen his glory on the earth. I've seen miracles happen in my own life, and I've seen healing and wholeness come from broken places. So that is irreplaceable. And I don't care what PhD you have, if you don't have a heart, you ain't teaching them nothing.
Dr. Morris, well met. Caroline, AI cannot procreate and it doesn't have a grandma. What does this mean in concert with Dr. Morris just expressed about the profound and significant impact of the human heart as an educator?
I've been waiting for this question my entire career because, like, we have to be undisciplined, and I think this is a moment where you said, Chris, in the last seminar or the last section, like, teachers and educators become technologists and technologists become educators. I think the way we've disciplined, like, this is over here, like theology is over here, philosophy is over here, science is over here. We're at a moment that all of it is coming together. And I think what makes us beautifully human is the 12 inches between our brains and our hearts. And if we can connect that, then we're able to do things that are beyond comprehension. I think AI might be able to map our neural networks, but they can't map this. They can't map the human breath. They can't map the prana. They can't map the cosmic energy. And I think when we think about this age, is like, how do we become more human? Like, if AI can do all of this stuff, let it do it. It can't become me. And I think one of the challenges we have, and I'll be really transparent, most of my expertise is in K-12. And we have created a system that creates workers, not humans. And we think our system is successful if children are able to go to work. Well, people are not machines. You cannot fuel a machine and it still is a machine. You don't give a human water, light, healthcare, and it becomes a cadaver. So I think we need to lean into the specialness of what it means to be in this body and the consciousness that comes with humans. That is not in the education field. That might come from some experience in philosophy and theology. And I think this is a moment that we say, like, no, we're taking all the books off the shelf. We're putting all the information out to figure out, how do we navigate this space right here? So I think that in education, like, we got to decouple this thing. Like, success is not just creating workers. Like, we might need to redefine success to say, how do we create more and deeply connected humans? And
taking that, Caroline, if you will, how do we create not workers, but thinkers?
Thinkers. Yeah.
How do we create thinkers for the other side of the AI frontier?
And on the other side, and just I'm going to plus one that, and for young people and young people in adult bodies, like, you have a unique contribution. This is why you are here. Do you know it? Do you know why you're here? Because I think folks can go all the way to adulthood and be in adult bodies, but not know their unique purpose. And I think I was like, I don't know if I got that in my 12 years of secondary and education. I got it at home.
You know, I find that rather fascinating that the generations that are here today, Rui, so much of us have been taught about work hard, play hard, carpe diem, carpe vitam. And we have such a focus on work so that we can sustain, to be able to procure income so that we can take care of our families. Dr. Morris just beautifully illustrated out about how much time does a child even have to be able to know their family with all the committed responsibilities. I saw this thing. I'll kind of segue for this in China. There's a great test that they take every year, these young people, and they take this test once in their lifetimes. And they study for this test so hard, they're falling asleep and passing out in classrooms. They have IVs that are set to them. And forgive my graphicness, but women are using certain contraptions to be able to delay their periods just so that they are able to be able to take this test so that they can one day be productive members in society and to be able to have a career. What happens when this idea of the career path is disrupted, just like the ideas of startup culture will be disrupted? Rui, I have a real concern for what it is that we're actually educating, because we talk about the need for educated, but what are we actually educating them for?
That's a great question, and I think that's a great problem. As we, Dr. Morris, Caroline have said it, and so well. First, education is not a factory. Students are not machines. We're not dumping information. That's not learning. That's dumping information, and that's what we've been doing. And we've been using education as this kind of rail to job, right? So it's like rail to the industry. You learn how to be a doctor, go be a doctor. You learn how to be, and it's like this machine. And I think that's what we need to assess is what is education and what is learning. Education for me is not learning facts. It's not dumping information. It's learning how to learn. If I learn the tools to learn, I can learn everything, anything. And I think we need to focus that, especially in times of disruption and changes like this. If you learn how to learn, if you know how to learn, you're less afraid of the future because you know you can adapt, you can grow. And we need to teach our kids not only critical thinking, but learning how to learn, learning how to research, how to grow. And that for me is like what the changes that need to happen. We need to stop thinking about education as our generations and older generations thought. Also, it's not working. It hasn't been working. I graduated 20 something years ago in a country where since the year I graduated or 10 years before, every year is like, there's less jobs, there's no jobs, there's no jobs. So it's like, yeah, we're still, going through with this machine and like, yeah, we need to go to college. But what happens after? You don't have a job. So why are we hammering down these like, forced career paths and, ingrained like dumping knowledge, less thinking, less critical thinking. So we need to change that.
I listen to these words, and thank you so much, Rui, for sharing this, and it's quite compassionate. Adi, let's explore this some further together, can we? I think about what we're teaching our young people now. And I think about the things that I've been taught, and some of it has been well received. But so much of what I've been taught is no longer even existent and relevant for this world that we live in today. And it seems to me that we're heading in this AI frontier. The compass doesn't exist. There's not even a North Star. There's no guide. It seems to me the only thing we have is our hearts, and to be able to be led by them with grace. Adi, what does this look like for your own responsibility when it comes to educating the generations to come with the work that you're doing with Kaleidoscope, but knowing, attending this GatherVerse Summit, knowing and understanding there's a demand and a need and a vacancy of education, what will you teach them moving forward?
Yeah, I think like this is a powerful question because we've been seeing, I mean, like Rui just mentioned, the key thing that I believe this new generation will need to focus on is on learning how to learn. The education space has been in disruption over the last 2 or 3 decades. It's just become accelerated now, and people are becoming alarmed about it. At KXR, one of the things that we are focused on doing is introducing empathy training into the system. So one of the things that I would say to anyone, and my role is how do we leverage technology to create new on-ramps for people to become competent at their job. So if you wanted to become more competent, you can leverage technology that we have and have more empathy and have more understanding. That said, on a broader level, it's also important for us to start to create new on-ramps for people to create value in society. So whether or not you are going to become a doctor, you're going to become a product manager, there needs to be new ways for you to know how to learn and not be forced into the same funnel. So with AI, with any new technology, and I'm going to go one step further to say AI is just one phase. In the next 3 or 4 years, we will be contending with another technology, and we will be back to this stage of saying, how do we help people to learn? So I feel like Rui's point is excellent. Let's spend more time on helping this new generation to learn how to learn so they can stay ahead of the curve. And also, we need to glorify new career paths that don't exactly follow the existing mold and don't follow the existing system. So my role is also to be a role model in society to the younger people. Like I have about 10 to 15 people that I mentor to show them how things can happen, how you can learn something in 9 months, become competent, do it for the next 3 years. 5 years from now, you learn something else and you become competent in that same thing. So we're living in a multi-portfolio career life. You will not be one thing for the next 60 years. You are going to become multiple things. So how do you have that framework to be competent and efficient in this new world that we live in?
Sure.
So that's my role. Let's mentor people, let's inspire them, and let's show them examples to let them know that this is possible.
Adi, I appreciate your candor, and I also appreciate your attention to cadence. We don't enjoy a lot of time to be able to figure this out, folks. We're so used to give us the 12 to 24-month cycle. The AI that we're interacting today will be nothing compared to what it will be this time next year at GatherVerse XREvolve 2026. It won't. It's not even a question if it will. It will not. We're getting the warnings from all these companies and corporations, Dr. Morris. Briefly, on your mission and the work that you do, what's the most important thing that we need right now and how we collaborate with you? We have to be very brief. We have 2 minutes and I want to get everyone on this. 30 seconds, please.
Support my efforts to train educators from around the world to make sure that they are integrating this technology humanely and that they're making sure that our young people actually get what they need. Because one thing that I still say we can't replace is that human touch, that ability to just be there in the trenches with young people, because they still need that nurturing. We as human beings still need that love. We still need that closeness, and we still need that understanding that someone has walked the path before us. So just like I stand here on the shoulders of giants, our young people need to stand on our shoulders and be there with us. And AI just needs to make time for us to be able to do it easier, to do it more seamlessly, and make sure that they have the purpose-driven mission that they need in this life. So join me with that, and you can find me at unitethemetaverse.com.
Thank you so much, Dr. Morris. We really appreciate those expressions. Caroline, your mic, please.
I would double click on everything that Dr. Morris said, but I think in order for us to move through this disruption together and more whole, support us in creating really, really vibrant and alive professional learning communities for K-12 educators so that they can remind themselves that they're still learners, they're still flexible, and they can learn new things. And it's required for us to continue to learn new things to create a rich learning environment for young people.
Caroline, thank you. Rui, your mic, please.
Sorry about that. To, continue and as much as possible, teach my students and other students and even clients that it's okay to say why and to say no when we think that a technology is the objective. And it really is okay to say no and to look at technology as tools and to question and to really bring the human in human and let the technology do the system parts.
Thank you, Rui. Adi.
Excellent. I think at Kaleidoscope, we are committed to leveraging technology to continue to create value and change lives and to see how we can create better outcomes for humans. Keeping the process very human while also like using technology to level up. On a personal note, I will continue to be a role model for the new generation to see that with technology, with understanding how to learn and how to create value, there are new on-ramps to living a fulfilling life and a high-quality life. And that's an example I'm committing to.
I have to leave on this last question. I'm sorry. I just need another minute or two. Dr. Morris, does humanity have a fighting chance? You're in the vestiges of education, unlike most people I know that walk the face of this earth. Do we have the capability to stay ahead of the machines at this innovative cadence that we're seeing right now?
We do. I think the thing that most disturbs me is that we have allowed for there to be, because there are only 5 people really in the world that's running this. You think about the CEOs of the largest tech companies, ain't but 5 of them. Really, let's be clear. So we put the power in the hands of 5 people. And I think that's the most disturbing thing. And that's why I said I'm calling all tech companies to the carpet. And that's why I stay in their face and I stay tagging them and I stay posting, because you're going to hear me. You're going to hear me till you hear me in your sleep. Because I'm going to need you to be accountable. I'm going to need you to be accountable for the things that you do. I'm going to need you to understand that there's a human touch that must be honored in this time and this effort, that there are 8 billion people in the world and you have 8 billion people counting on one person to do right.
Dr. Morris, thank you so much. Roundtable, panelists, all those that have attended here at GatherVerse. We have our final roundtable that we're about to be met with, and they are in studio waiting right now to carry the baton of all the things that have been expressed these past 2 days. There's so much more to be able to be said, and we have such a little bit of time to do it. And we have the very best that we could present to do this. Thank you so much for joining us at this extraordinary panel discussion at the intersection of AI and XR. Our gather was well.